Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the gallery. My name is Sue Sorensen, and I'm an English professor here at Canadian Mennonite University. I'm also a member of the Volunteer Advisory Committee that helps to run this gallery, and a warm, warm welcome to you all who've come here to gather on this damp autumn evening of Thanksgiving and celebration. We're celebrating many things, but one big one is this. The gallery has been serving this community for 25 years. So happy Thanksgiving to us all, but also happy birthday to the gallery. First, I'd like to introduce Lisa Lysack, who's another member of our advisory committee, to come forward.
Well, I have to move over here. As we gather this evening, we acknowledge that MHC Gallery is located on Treaty 1 territory, the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We gratefully acknowledge their stewardship of these lands and waters and are committed to creating shared spaces of understanding and reconciliation. Good evening, and welcome to the 25th anniversary celebration and fundraiser for MHC Gallery on the campus of Canadian Mennonite University. As was mentioned, my name is Lisa Lysack, and I am a member of the MHC Gallery Advisory Committee. Tonight, we invite you to join us in supporting this space by celebrating the past and looking forward to what is ahead. There are many stages in the making of art. Speaking as an artist, this process is not complete for me until the art is shared. Now, there are many ways that this sharing can happen. It can take place through an informal conversation in a studio setting. Family who are in proximity while an artwork is taking shape observe both the process and the finished product. However, a significant space for the sharing of art to happen is in a gallery setting. I have been part of the MHC Gallery Advisory Committee since fall of 2022. We are a group of volunteers who contribute in various ways to the work of the gallery under the leadership of Director Sarah Hodges-Kolisnyk. It has been a pleasure for me to work alongside this group who share my values of supporting artists, sharing art, and building community through art exhibitions and events. A gallery space has the potential to be many things. It is a dedicated space set aside for the purpose of interaction with art and artists. It is a public space where strangers and friends experience art together. It can be a place of contemplation or conversation or celebration. It can be a quiet space for study or a place of work. When I saw the notice that MHC Gallery was looking to expand the advisory committee, I decided to answer the request because I saw this gallery as a space worth investing in. I'm attracted to the willingness of this place to explore issues of faith and the open invitation for artists and supporters of all faiths and no faith to join in community. We are here this evening to recognize 25 years of connection through artistic expression at MHC Gallery and to explore growing these connections into the future. Your support makes it possible for MHC Gallery to continue this work.
So just a few words of announcement. I hope that everyone got a ticket when you came in because we're going to have several door prizes. So if you didn't get one, you might want to quickly wave your hand so that we have several excellent prizes. Graham's the person that can help us with all of that. Be sure to stay after our short program tonight and take in not only Miriam Rudolph's Layered Histories exhibit, if you haven't already had a chance to look through it, but also upstairs, importantly, and we'll hear more about this, the work of the Artes Vivas collective of Nivakle and Guarani artists indigenous to Paraguay. And one of the door prizes will be one of those artworks by Esteban Claassen. And also we have copies of Miriam's book of this exhibition, along with Paraguayan knit bags that will be part of the door prize. So we'll draw one now in a moment, and then we'll draw a couple of other ones in a bit. I just wanted to say, if you want to buy any of the artwork upstairs from the Artes Vivas collective, 100% of the profits of any sales are going directly back to the artists in Paraguay, and they very much would appreciate our support. So if you're interested in buying a copy of Miriam's book, if you're interested in buying one of the artworks upstairs, Graham, Unrau, or Sarah can help you out tonight. Yeah, I think, yes, let's do a door prize. Let's do a door prize, and then we have a little, and Sarah's going to read the numbers because I said I can't see the tiny numbers, but she's younger than me, and she can read the tiny numbers.
Okay, the number is 709046. 709046. Oh, congratulations, Cheryl. You can see, I think Graham might have the prize pack.
You being here this evening lets us know that art is important to you. The primary purpose of evenings like this at the gallery is to gather enough financial support to do the gallery's work for the year. But it's also important just to be together, to enjoy food and music and talk, to be stimulated by new ideas, and to be comforted by the presence of old friends. So do enjoy yourselves this evening. Now, usually a person that has a big role to play on an evening like this is probably the longest serving member of our advisory committee, Lori Matties, who couldn't be here tonight. So I'm going to now pretend to be Lori Matties. She wrote me out a little script. Lori's particular skill is hanging. She has been one of the key people, if not the key persons for about a decade in hanging the art shows. And my son Theo, who has been working around here, and you'll see him taking pictures tonight, I said, wow, Lori's really good at it, isn't she? And he said, holy smokes, right? She is the best person at hanging art. So she wrote up a little bit about her work over 12, 13 years with the gallery, and we have some images from over the years as well. So I'm speaking in Lori Matties' voice here. In the last 12 or 13 years working with the gallery, I have been enriched by the many forms of art that have been exhibited here, as well as works by local artists. These walls have held works from Argentina, Paraguay, Ethiopia, Sudan, Japan, India, Cuba, and Bali, to name just a few. This beautiful space has provided a safe forum for religious perspectives, justice issues, the beauty and fragility of nature, humor, grief, and every other emotion we humans can imagine into artistic expression. I've experienced something of the delight and heartbreak in the works of children through their art on these walls. In one exhibition, we showed 400 paintings made by students from the schools of Winnipeg. In another show were 40 precious and disturbing drawings by Yazidi children from Iraq. Yet another exhibited drawings and paintings by Muslim school children from Winnipeg. One exhibition I helped to hang was a series of close-up photographs of a frozen puddle outside the artist's home that glimmered and glistened like stained glass. Another show was a series of abstract paintings of tree trunks. Another was a retrospective of carved wood pieces the artist had lovingly collected from forest floors in northern Manitoba and made into practical and whimsical objects. Figuring out how to make all the works in an exhibition sing has been my challenge and joy. From the beginning, the goal of the gallery has been to bring together art and artists from different cultural and religious backgrounds, and to celebrate the places of connection these meetings could create. That is a legacy and a goal that is all the more needed today in a world where so often difference is feared and condemned. I hope, says Laurie, we can continue to nurture local and international artists in many forms of artistic conversation for a long time to come. That conversation can delight, challenge, and enrich us all. So Laurie says, thank you for being here tonight, for your appreciation and support of the gallery, and may we together make it glow. So an evening like this is not an evening like this without an address by the director of the gallery. So we have been blessed to have Sarah Hodges-Kolisnyk as our director now for a little more than a year and a half, after our founder, Ray Dirks, retired. Big shoes to fill, but it has been a delight to work with Sarah, and you can take it away, Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Sue, for the introduction, and thank you all for joining us tonight to celebrate 25 years of art at MHC Gallery. In marking this auspicious milestone, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the foresight and dedication of gallery founder Ray Dirks and his wife, Katie, who are with us tonight, as well as the many supporters, volunteers, and artists who we've worked with over the years to make this gallery a success. The gallery was founded in 1998 under the Mennonite Church of Canada, and it was to be a space of refuge for artists, a place where, regardless of faith, spiritual traditions, or cultural background, artists could express themselves in any visual media without influence or agenda of the gallery or church. The gallery was a celebration of the fact that artists of all media are God-gifted, respected, and supported. The gallery would also promote exhibitions dealing with themes of social importance to the wider community, as well as international exhibitions. In other words, this was and is a space where we could get to know each other in a spirit of respect, understanding, and acceptance. All artists, young and old, student, amateur, professional, established, have always been welcome here. In 2017, the gallery moved under the umbrella of Canadian Mennonite University, marrying our physical location to a shared purpose. For, like a post-secondary institution, the gallery space acts as an incubator for new ways of knowing, thinking, being. Through our exhibitions and programming, we support artists who invite viewers to meet in radical dialogue, elucidatory expression, and moving moments of change. Art causes us to react, reflect, and reach for better pasts, presents, and futures. As I reflect on the year that has passed since our last gathering, I know we have much to celebrate, the least of which is a return to a full season of exhibitions since the world-shifting days of the COVID-19 pandemic. This past year, we marked another milestone, the retirement of gallery founder Ray Dirks with a major retrospective of his art last December, which had never before been seen all together in one narrative grouping. It was an event that marked reunions of old friends and the sharing of cherished stories. Oh, there we go. That was that exhibition. And then in January, we invited audiences to consider difficult topics and feelings with grief and grievance. Visitors were moved to tears in considering Barb Bottle's cathartic art exploration that responded to the death of her mother, while upstairs, guests debated the most relevant social justice issues of the day with Brian E. Haig's protest artworks. Next, we explored stories of migrations with Leaving Canada, the Mennonite migration to Mexico, as well as Margaret Shaw McKinnon's tribute to her Ukrainian immigrant grandparents. I was particularly moved when an Iranian couple spent hours at the gallery alongside a representative with Citizenship and Immigration Canada. They were here learning more about the historic experiences of immigrants and refugees in Manitoba, all in preparation to resettle their young family here in Winnipeg. Then, over the summer, our community demonstrated another strong showing of support when visitors stopped by from across the province to take in John Blosser's watercolors. John, who's now based in Goshen, Indiana, had lived in Manitoba for a short time, just a short time, many years ago. So it was a pleasant display of the bonds of community to see how many of John's past contacts came out to enjoy the show. Over the summer, we also showcased a large collection of fiber artists with their innovative quilt responses to our tumultuous times. So today, if you haven't already, I do invite you to consider the two exhibitions that are currently on display: Miriam Rudolph's Layered Histories, Perspectives on Colonization from the Chaco, and a collection by Arte Vivas Indigenous Art Collective upstairs called Collection, Mission, Colonization, Entangled Histories from the Chaco. Miriam will talk to this work later this evening, and also offer a full-length artist talk on October 28th. So I won't spoil any details now, but suffice to say, this exhibition is a strong example of the ways art can make challenging subject matter accessible and impactful. The arts community also noticed our resurgence in 2022-2023. This spring, we were grateful to receive an overwhelming response to our call for exhibition applications for our 2024 season. With a record number of applications, our advisory committee had the difficult task of choosing an inspiring lineup for our 25th anniversary season, which we're kicking off tonight. A few highlights that I'll share with you tonight include a brand new exhibition and coffee table book featuring the photographs of the late scientist Klaus Hoheim. I'm curating this project alongside Klaus's widow, Martha, and in partnership with CMU Press. We will also feature innovative waterscapes and climate justice artworks just in time for World Water Day and Earth Day, respectively, and an exhibition featuring abstract art paired with ekphrastic writings for World Poetry Day. The last tidbit of information I'll give you is that a local Indigenous artist will be joining us next September to explore intergenerational stories of Indigenous women using media that ranges the whole gamut from graphic novels to beading to using moose hide as a medium. We are also grateful to have remained financially steady through these transitional times, and we have you, our supporters, to thank for that. However, current statistical research shows that there is a hesitation to return to full participation in activities like the arts following the pandemic. In many cases, individuals have moved on to other interests and hobbies during the course of the pandemic, but still for many others, affordability and economic pressures of the day present a challenge. Imagine Canada indicates that the arts are facing challenging times, with many organizations indicating nearly a 45% decrease in financial resources. So, in response, we hope to expand our strategic vision and grow in both resiliency and opportunity. But to do this, we must increase our capacity. Monthly donation plans provide a confidence and a firm foundation for this kind of strategic long-term growth. With your help, we will continue to create new opportunities for dialogue, collaboration, and artistic expression. We also hope that you'll consider helping us grow our reach, spreading word of our events and exhibitions, inviting your friends out to nights like tonight, helps encourage even more of these important art engagements. Art is needed now more than ever, as I think has been said already tonight. In our turbulent times of social unrest, climate crisis, digital revolution, and a global pandemic, art provides a grounding in relationship, dialogue, and the curious spirit to imagine a world beyond. We have already seen promising responses to pressing topics over this past year, and our 25th anniversary season promises to provide new avenues into tough topics, as I'm sure you'll see as you engage with the artworks around you tonight. Please do feel free to ask myself, Graham, or any of our advisory committee members about the exciting plans we have for the season ahead. Thank you for sharing with us tonight.
Thank you, Sarah. And I think you can see why we hired her. She's a treasure. I want to just say everything she said goes for all of us on the advisory committee. Thank you for putting that so well. I think as Levi Edward is going to set up and do a little bit of music for us, as he sets up, I will give you this microphone, Levi, but I think we will have another door prize draw while we're setting that up. And while Sarah is getting the numbers that she will read, I want to say that I hope that you realize just how relevant all the shows that we've done this last year are. They weren't just, artsy-fartsy art shows. They were incredibly relevant and very moving. And just a personal note with CMU Press. So Sarah and I have been working with Martha Hochheim on this wonderful exhibition of ice photographs by the University of Manitoba scientist Klaus Hochheim. And so that's one thing, but CMU Press is also using a little bit of the fiber art that was displayed upstairs. I was looking for an image for an upcoming book of poetry, and I saw these images and thought, I want that on our next book of poetry, which is called Wonderwork. And at the same time, one of the poets who was translating the poems in the work had also come over and looked, and she and I picked independently the same artwork to be on the cover of the book. So this is a place of imagination and sometimes magic. All right, let's look at one more of these. We can shout out the number, and I'll let you sort that out.
Number is 709038. 038. Oh, okay, awesome. Graham will have a prize at the front over there.
So I have a good enough teacher voice that I can introduce Levi while he's setting up with the microphone. Levi Edward is a music therapy student here at CMU. If you like what you hear tonight, I know that you can find his music on Bandcamp because I looked it up. He's going to play an original composition, which is, I believe, It's Only Love. And you'll also hear Levi playing guitar afterwards when we're just milling about and visiting and having something to eat. So please welcome Levi Edward.
So I was thinking about songs that might fit into the theme of the artwork that we're going to hear about later, Entangled. And I was thinking about that theme of entangled, potentially strained relationships. And this song came to mind. I wrote it a few years ago. It's about being on a journey, trying to navigate the terrain and getting lost. Only thing that keeps you moving forward is the love that you have for someone or something else. So that keeps you going.
Cumberland in disarray, and realize don't know the way. All I have won't clear the haze. It's only love. Come by sea in near the bay. The tide is out and it's getting late. All I have won't calm the waves. It's only love. But I need you now. When the sun goes down and when it comes up again. Come by night and led astray. The moon is thin and the stars are faint. All I have won't light the way. It's only love. But I need you now. When the sun goes down and when it comes up again.
Thank you, Levi. If Levi is doing music therapy, I think that many of us could benefit from listening to more of his work. So thank you very much, Levi. That was very beautiful. At the center of our little event tonight is Miriam Rudolph, who's going to speak in a moment, and it's my pleasure to introduce her. Many of you know Miriam very well and love her art. I know I do and have for a long time. Born and raised in Paraguay, she came to Winnipeg 20 years ago to study at the University of Manitoba. She later went on to study in Alberta and Minnesota, and then came back here to settle with her husband, ceramicist Terry Hildebrand, and start a family which now has at its very important center, Max. I met Miriam about 10 years ago, maybe it's 12 years ago, when CMU Press published her wonderful book, David's Trip to Paraguay, which won Best Illustrated Book at that year's Manitoba Book Awards. And that book is now out of print, but for our last door prize, I have found one of the very, very last copies of that that we will give away later. And I was very pleased to be part of that project, and I met Miriam then. Her most recent book, Layered Histories, which coincides with this very exhibition, is available, and I recommend it to you. You can buy it here tonight. I have one other point of connection with Miriam, which is that at a certain point when she was traveling, I babysat an enormous painting of Miriam's for a year. Well, they were busy traveling and they didn't want to store this painting, so they were looking for somebody to hang it. And so I I said, sure, I'll put this painting on my wall. And it was, dare I say, a slightly kooky painting. And it was enormous. And it instigated some pretty wild conversations with my, at the time, very young son and his friends, who were quite taken with this painting and probably still talk about it. I assess favorably or unfavorably many of Winnipeg's public and private spaces by whether they are cool enough to have Miriam's art hanging there. I am always pleased if I'm at a meeting. I think the Manitoba Arts Council has some of her work on the wall. So if I'm at a meeting and I look up and I see Miriam's art on the wall, then I am very pleased indeed. Her visual language is unmistakably hers, and it's both immediately easy to connect with and somehow mysterious. Her work surrounds us here tonight, and she will talk about it a little bit and the context of her own heritage in Paraguay, and hopefully a little bit about the work of the Indigenous artists upstairs. Please help me in welcoming Miriam Rudolph.
Thank you, Sue. Good evening. Can you hear me all right in the back? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for being here at this fundraiser tonight, for showing your support, and for celebrating art with us. I'm grateful to the MHC Gallery for making these two exhibitions possible. Thank you to Sarah and Graham for organizing everything, and thank you to Richard and Lisa for the volunteer hours to install these shows. I acknowledge that I grew up on the territory of the Enclet in the Paraguayan Chaco, and that I currently live on Treaty 1 territory, the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. Today, I am honored to introduce the work of the Indigenous artist collective Artes Vivas from the Paraguayan Chaco on display upstairs. The drawings in this exhibition, Collection, Mission, Colonization, Entangled Histories from the Chaco, recall historical ways of life of the Nivakle and Guarani people. They represent activities of hunting and gathering, fishing and gardening, a mobile way of life in extensive territories, ceremonies and dancing, as well as shamanic motifs such as the jaguar and the yabiru, a large stork. Some drawings tell of contemporary life, of wage labor, resettlement on mission stations, processes of conversion, forced assimilation, of precarious living conditions, and of a loss of autonomy in a non-verbal way. The drawings create a dialogue between historical and contemporary experiences and practices marked by radical transformations through colonization and mission. In a present shaped by dispossession, loss, exploitation, and exclusion, remembering the abundance and diversity of forest life becomes important. The drawings witness the resilience of Indigenous ways of being in the world in the Chaco. The Artes Vivas Indigenous Artists Collective was initiated and established through a close long-term collaboration between Indigenous artists and anthropologists Verena and Ursula Reguer in the Paraguayan Chaco. Following a proposal from a Nivakle community, they organized a drawing contest in 1998, from which emerged some early black and white drawings. The artists are self-taught and have had only a few years of formal education. They are members of the Nivakle and Guarani language groups and live in the worker settlements Cayinoclim and Yiclocat at the periphery of the Mennonite colony Neuland in the Paraguayan Chaco. As already mentioned before, the drawings are for sale, and all the proceeds will go directly to the artists. In 2021 and 2022, the Artist Collective and I were invited by the Santo Domingo Center for Excellence in Latin American Research at the British Museum to participate in a long-distance artist residency to create artistic responses to the Paraguay collection housed in storage at the British Museum, consisting of artifacts from the southern Chaco collected by Anglican missionaries in the early 1900s. Some of the drawings upstairs and the video were part of that project. My response is this artist's book on display here, Layered Histories, Perspectives on Colonization from the Chaco. It explores the complexities of colonization of the Paraguayan Chaco region through layered etchings and diverging narratives of experiences and history from the perspectives of the southern and northern Inclit indigenous people, Anglican missionaries, and Mennonite settlers. For me, the artifacts in the collection were the starting point to question history. What does the collector and missionary Wilfred Barbrook Grubb tell us about the objects and his time in Paraguay? What do indigenous voices have to say about their past and present? What do my own people, Mennonite settlers, tell about their arrival and settlement of the Chaco? Whose experience, whose history is being told, preserved, taught, and perpetuated? This work is part of a lifelong journey of watching and questioning the narratives and relationships of settler and indigenous communities. This project gave me the opportunity to research the early colonization history of the Lower Chaco from the Anglican perspective and to further explore the colonial history of my own roots, the settlement of the Mennonites in the Central Chaco, beginning in 1927, which resulted in the displacement of the Inclit Norte. The prints and text excerpts trace the events of early contacts between European missionary explorers and settlers through the changes in landscape and ways of living of the indigenous people to today's attempts at indigenous assertion of their rights and tentative perspectives for the future. Starting along this wall, following with terra nullius and neocolonial landscapes, along the wall here, across the back, and ending behind the desk if you do want to view it in a chronological order, which isn't necessary. Through printmaking, I'm building a visual narrative alongside the texts that not only analyzes, but also embodies the issues I'm addressing. The square format, the inclusion of digitally printed early maps, contemporary satellite imagery, and the grid, for example, pertain to land surveying, mapping, fencing in, enclosing, organizing, boxing in, and boxing up, referencing the act of collecting and storing the collection, as well as the colonial imposition of a certain kind of order, of will, of a way of life, and of a way of thinking. In other instances, I print on both sides of a translucent paper, allowing the paper to embody a physical barrier between the past and the present, such as in neocolonial landscapes where the larger circle of forest that the Inclit used to access is unavailable in the present, or allowing figures to shine through that are backers of the actors on the front, such as in Mission, for example, where a politician and a settler figure are printed behind the missionary in the front. I explore the imagery of lightly or strongly etched figures of men, women, and children. The translucence of the groupings of figures suggests a non-solid, precarious presence and marginal existence, a fading past or non-materializing future. The size and the strength of the etching of the figures reflects the power dynamics between the groupings. We often think of colonization as a process of history in the past. However, the impacts of colonization continue to pervade everything in our lives today. Social structures and systems, our perception of land and property, the content we are taught in schools, the way we think about, interact with, and treat others on whose land we now live, whose artifacts we store, who work for us, and whose experiences are not taught in schools. This artist's book invites to question our biases, our perceptions, our narratives, and our understanding of history, and challenges us to decolonize our thinking. As Sue already mentioned, I will give a full-length 45-minute artist talk on Saturday, October 28th at 1 p.m. here in the gallery, which is open to the public. And also, if you'd like to spend more time with the text and images, there is the small edition, smaller book available that you can take home. And part of the proceeds of the sale of the book will also go towards the gallery. The MHC Gallery is a space into which we invite artists that share the story of our joint and entangled histories as Mennonites, and the stories of other artists from around the world. This gallery is one of the most beautiful exhibition spaces in all of Winnipeg, with a very unique agenda to showcase artists from around the world. Artists with Mennonite heritage, artists with migrant backgrounds, artists that share their faith through their art, artists who share a desire for peace and justice through their work. Together, at this fundraiser, we can ensure that this beautiful exhibition space that allows the sharing of art, of beauty, of questions and challenges, of the human life experience, will continue to exist and operate. Thank you all for your support tonight.
Thank you so much, Miriam. We're almost done with the talking part. I think we will do our final door prizes now. So we have one more. So will this be for Esteban Clausen's work upstairs, Sarah? We'll do this book. We'll do Miriam's out-of-print book from long ago, children's book, David's Trip to Paraguay, which she can tell you about. It's the story of her grandfather. So you can read the number.
Just in the context of layered histories, the narrative in that book is quite different from the one I presented.
Say more old school narrative. Yeah.
Yes, my own understanding of my history has changed over the last 12 years.
And just before I read out the winning ticket, I did want to say upstairs, I don't think we've mentioned it yet, I put together a slideshow of posters and images from the last 25 years, whatever I could find in our files. So feel free to sit down. There's some chairs up there, and you can enjoy that. Typically, if you came back on a different day, the TV upstairs would be showing a documentary about the artists upstairs. So you'll have to come back again to see that. But the winning ticket of the book is 709037. Okay, wonderful. I'll get it to you in a second. We can do the honors for Esteban's print.
I can read it. 709035. Yes? Was it Nick? Did we get it? 709035? Do another one?
Another one.
709020. There we go. Okay. All right. So this is the part where we remind you that this is a fundraiser. This gallery is almost entirely sustained by donations from people who value what we're doing here, making it a welcoming space for artists, both professional and not, for people of all faiths and cultures to explore ideas and problems together. And always, we offer this work in a spirit of peace and reconciliation, principles which are so important to our host institution, Canadian Mennonite University. As Sarah mentioned earlier, the pandemic hit cultural groups particularly hard, small art galleries amongst them. We would very much like to make the position of director full-time again. Sarah is part-time, as it was for Ray Dirks before the pandemic. Sarah has been a great gift to this artistic and spiritual community. I've worked with her closely, and she is a treasure. Her specialty, by the way, is photography, and she is a fine photographer herself. You could ask her about that. In the gallery, she is an enthusiastic, caring, and deeply helpful caretaker of all aspects of this gallery. For Sarah, for the volunteer committee that helps her out, for Graham, the terrific gallery assistant, and on behalf of the wider university community which values this gallery, it's my privilege to ask you tonight to support this art gallery financially. We do not have a lot of the government program supports that other arts organizations receive. Our main source of funding is you. So whether you can donate tonight or donate soon, please don't forget about this lovely little place and know that we are grateful. Now, before we ask, I'm going to ask Cheryl Pauls in a moment up to give a blessing, but I just want to say a few words of thanks, and then I'll ask Cheryl to come up and offer a blessing, and then we can do a little mingling and visiting and art enjoying and have a little bite to eat. So before we eat and visit, I want to offer this round of thanks to Anella, our student assistant, and to Daryl and Theo, who helped set up equipment tonight. Thank you very much. To our committee, Lisa Lysack, Lori Matties, Seth Woodyard, Shaguna Lude, Richard Clausen, thank you very much. To Graham, Unrau, and especially to Sarah Hodges-Kolisnyk, who do so much to make this gallery vibrant, inclusive, and beautiful. My thanks, our thanks. To Ray Dirks, the founding director, whose vision continues to sustain us. And thanks to CMU and its president, Cheryl Pauls, for believing that a little art gallery on campus is a very good thing indeed. For the food, we thank Hannah Hebert. She prepared the food that we are about to eat, to Levi Edward for honoring us with the gift of his music. And a very big thanks to Miriam Rudolph, of course, for the gift of your art and your message, which means so much to all of us, and for your words of challenge and inspiration. And for all of you here, thank you for helping and supporting us today and throughout the year. Now I'd like to introduce the president of Canadian Mennonite University to ask a blessing, Cheryl Pauls.
Let's continue our thanks and give it to God, our Creator. Beloved Creator, with joy you called the world into being, and with delight you placed trust in creatures of all shapes and sizes and dispositions, to lean on, learn from, live with, and laugh alongside one another. Lord, bless all human creatures who are alive to smells, sounds, and sights, creatures who take delight and share in the ever-flowing, stunning beauty with which you have gifted the world. Loving God, we honor the blessing of artists, people who focus our eyes on what there is to see and on what we must see, so that we are awakened to everyday wonders, refreshed in what we call insight, and reminded of what is fragile and need of care. Imaginations disciplined by paint hues and fine sketching and shading tell good stories, good in the sense that they're attentive to truth in more than one way. Art slows our judgments, quickens our focus, and disrupts and rearranges our sensibilities for what we think rightly. Art entices us with grace and clarity. It permits new margins of hope to seep through the cracks in the canvas into everyday life. Art brings unusual sets of communities together. Oh God, we are so grateful for these gifts. Thank you for the space to honor these gifts through the MHC Gallery and for artists who take the time to hone their eyes and hands to good work. Thank you for the vision and efforts of Sarah and the Gallery's advisory committee and volunteers. And thank you for all who are intrigued by the work and whose financial gifts sustain the place, the work, and the people. Bless this gallery as it nurtures our desire to look, linger, look again, and truly see. And bless all as we go from here, enjoying refreshments and seeking in so many ways your deep peace, sharing the delights of your abundant joy. In Jesus' name, amen. Good night and enjoy.